Okay, welcome back. Here we are with the weblog analyzer. So what I'm going to do briefly is let's see how this project works. We have these different classes that work together that we can see through our object diagram or our UML diagram. We have our main log analyzer class. We have a log file reader class whose job it is to read a text file. We have a log entry class, which is an individual line of that file, and we have a log line tokenizer class whose job it is to take a log entry and split it out into individual components. To tokenize something is to take a pattern and split it apart on some embedded pattern so that you get subcomponents or subparts. We also have this log file creator. The idea being we are not likely to have a log file to work with, so I'm going to create a separate log file creator object. And if I look at that, I can create an entry or I can create a file. So if I just ask that to create an entry, it will show me an individual set of items, an array in 2016 at December 11th at 7:18 a.m. So it's just it basically randomizes a bunch of information. So I'm going to ask my creator to create a file, string file name and number of entries. I'm going to give it the file name demo.log, and I want it to give me 10,000 entries. And I click OK, and it helps if I actually use a closing quote. And so, okay, it created a file with 10,000 entries, return true. And inside of my project folder, there is now a file called demo.log. And so as we can see in my Finder window here on my Mac, there is demo.log. And let me open that with, I'm going to throw that over to, well, why not BBEdit? And maybe that's why. Because BBEdit is going to give me this nice big window, but this is what the log file is. So by default, our log file creator is only creating things in 2016. We can tweak that. But part of the log file is it's just going to give us a sorted list of web accesses, and then it's going to be the job of our analyzer to split this apart and produce totals from these 10,000 entries. Save those documents. Don't save. Close. Don't save. You know what? I'm just going to put BBEdit behind. Although spending some time to read some Shakespeare and do some Prospero from The Tempest would have been an equally useful use of our time. I think the arts are very enriching, and not everything has to be about arrays or technology. But since this is where our focus is, I will come back here. So log file creator created a file, but you'll see that log file reader also uses this. So I just want to show you that log file reader, and look at all of the different things it's importing to be able to do its job. Very interesting. If we just create an empty log file reader, it is looking for default a file called weblog.txt. Or when we create the log file reader, we can tell it to go and look for a specific file name. So what ends up happening is if we don't pass it a file name, it comes into the other version of this constructor, which is overloaded, and it says, oh, run this object's string constructor, and it will try to do all of this work on weblog.txt. But if I tell it to go to a different file, it will do that automatically. My log analyzer, when it creates a log file reader, specifies nothing in this parameter. So by default, your project will use the weblog.txt file. If you want to use a file you have created, you need to put that file name in here so that it calls the appropriate file when the log file reader is being constructed. So I'm going to put in demo.log, so it's using that new 10,000 line file. Let me save that, recompile that class, and when I ask for a new log analyzer, it will go through. It read those 10,000 files, and now I have a weblog analyzer object. That weblog analyzer object has an array of hour counts, which right now are all 0 because we haven't performed the analysis step yet. And there is the log file reader, which is keeping track of the format, and it has an array list of entries, and that array list has 10,000 items in it, which we would expect because that's how big our default demo.log file was. And so I can go and I can have my log analyzer analyze that hourly data. And it's going over those 10,000 entries, and if I look at my hour counts, it's now telling me how many of those entries occur in each of the hours. What happened at midnight, what happened at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and so on, up to the 11 p.m., from 11 p.m. to 11:59 p.m., right there. So the analysis portion has to go through those 10,000 entries and do all the hard work for us. Our log analyzer also allows us to print our data. So this is just the raw data dumped to the terminal. And I can also print our hourly counts, where it will take the information that is in that array and then dump that to the terminal as well. Okay, so your project is going to involve manipulating that log analyzer to add more analysis methods to it. But before you start doing that, let's look at how it's doing the job that it's already doing with these elements.